In the vast, star-speckled void of the cosmos, where humanity's reach had only just begun to scratch the surface of infinity, Jake Harlan stood on the threshold of redemption. He'd been a hotshot pilot back on Earth, the kind who could thread a fighter through an asteroid storm without breaking a sweat. But one reckless maneuver during a routine patrol had cost him everything: his license, his reputation, and the trust of those who once called him a hero. Now, at 28, with nothing left but a battered flight suit and a stubborn streak that refused to die, he gazed up at the gleaming spires of the elite star Academy on the orbital station orbiting Proxima Centauri. This was his last shot, a program whispered about in pilot bars across the colonies, a grueling course that promised to turn washouts into legends, piloting vessels that danced between stars like fireflies in the night. The shuttle docked with a soft hiss, and Jake stepped into the Academy's sterile halls, his boots echoing against the metallic floors. Holographic displays flickered to life around him, projecting simulations of warp jumps and dogfights that made his pulse quicken. He wasn't here for the glory anymore. He was here to prove he still had it, that the fire in his veins hadn't flickered out. Little did he know, the real test wasn't in the simulators or the zero-gravity drills, it was in the eyes of his instructor, a woman who hid secrets as vast as the galaxies themselves. Her name was Zara, or at least that's what the roster said. She stood at the front of the briefing room, her posture impeccable, her uniform hugging her form in a way that seemed almost too perfect for military regs. Her hair cascaded like silver moonlight, framing a face with skin so pale it gleamed under the artificial lights, and her ears, subtly pointed, like those of ancient elven tales, peeked through the strands. She wore a sleek, form-fitting ensemble that blended elegance with authority, its fabric shimmering with an otherworldly sheen, accentuating curves that could distract even the most focused cadet. But it was her eyes that caught Jake first, deep violet pools that seemed to hold the mysteries of distant nebulae, piercing through him as if she could read his every doubt. "Welcome to hell, cadets," Zara's voice rang out, smooth and commanding, with a faint accent that Jake couldn't place, exotic, almost melodic. "I'm Instructor Zara, and in the next 6 months, I'll break you down and rebuild you into pilots worthy of commanding the stars. Fail, and you'll crawl back to whatever rock you came from. Succeed, and the universe might just bow to you." Jake slid into a seat at the back, his heart pounding not just from nerves but from the way her gaze lingered on him a fraction too long. The other cadets murmured, a mix of wide-eyed rookies and grizzled vets like him, but he felt singled out, as if she'd already marked him for something more intense. The briefing dove straight into the curriculum: advanced warp navigation, combat maneuvers against hypothetical alien threats, and survival drills in simulated black holes. Zara paced the room like a predator, her movements fluid, her explanations laced with a passion that ignited the air. She demonstrated a holographic projection of a starship evading plasma torpedoes, her fingers dancing through the controls with effortless grace. As the session wore on, Jake found himself mesmerized. There was something off about her, too graceful, too knowing. When she called on him for a question about thrust vectoring in microgravity, he answered flawlessly, drawing a rare nod of approval. "Impressive, Harlan," she said, her lips curving into a smile that sent a shiver down his spine. "But theory is easy. Let's see if you can handle the real thing." The first drill came that afternoon in the Academy's massive simulator bay, strapped into a pod that mimicked the cockpit of a Vanguard-class starfighter. Jake gripped the controls, sweat beading on his forehead. The scenario: navigate a debris field while under fire from automated drones. Simple enough, or so he thought, but as the sim kicked in, the intensity ramped up, lasers streaking past his viewport, alarms blaring as he banked hard to avoid collisions. Zara's voice echoed in his helmet comms, calm yet insistent. "Faster, Harlan, you're piloting a ship, not a cargo hauler. Push it." He did, executing a barrel roll that skimmed the edge of a virtual asteroid, his instincts kicking in like old friends. The other cadets faltered one by one, their pods exploding in simulated defeat, but Jake pressed on, his maneuvers growing bolder, more intuitive. He felt her watching through the observation deck, her presence a tangible force even through the screens. By the end, he was the last one standing, his ship intact amid the chaos. Emerging from the pod, drenched in sweat, he met her eyes again. "Not bad," she conceded, stepping closer than necessary, her scent, a mix of exotic spices and ozone wafting over him. "But tomorrow, we go harder," dismissed, That night, in the dim glow of his quarters, Jake couldn't shake her image. Who was she, really? The Academy was human-run, or so he'd heard, but Zara felt different, alien almost. He chuckled at the thought, dismissing it as fatigue. Little did he know, she was far more than an instructor. Princess Zara of Andromeda, heir to the throne of Zerathia, had fled her empire's crumbling alliances, disguising herself among humans to scout potential allies, or threats. And in Jake, she'd seen something rare, a spark of raw, unyielding humanity that could either save her world or doom it. The days blurred into a relentless rhythm of training. Zara pushed the class mercilessly, her drills designed to weed out the weak. Jake thrived under the pressure, his skills sharpening with each session. He noticed how she favored him subtly, extra feedback during debriefs, a lingering touch on his shoulder when adjusting his harness. It stirred something in him, a mix of admiration and desire he hadn't felt in years. One evening, after a particularly grueling sim where he'd pulled off an impossible loop to evade a missile lock, Zara pulled him aside in the empty bay. The lights were low, casting shadows that danced across her ethereal features. "You're holding back, Jake," she said softly, her voice dropping to a whisper that sent warmth pooling in his chest. "Why, afraid to show what a human can really do?" He met her gaze, the air thickening between them. "Maybe I'm just waiting for the right challenge," he replied, his tone laced with defiance. She stepped closer, her hand brushing his arm, igniting sparks that had nothing to do with the simulators. In that moment, the line between teacher and something more blurred, and Jake wondered if the stars themselves were conspiring to draw them together. As the weeks passed, rumors swirled among the cadets about strange signals intercepted from deep space, alien chatter, some said. Jake dismissed them, focused on the growing tension with Zara. During a zero-G training exercise, floating in the Academy's anti-grav chamber, their bodies brushed in the weightless void. Her laughter echoed, light and genuine, as she corrected his form. "Like this," she murmured, guiding his hands, her touch lingering. It was in these stolen moments that Jake began to see beyond her facade. Her knowledge of stellar phenomena was too intimate, her reflexes too superhuman. One night, unable to sleep, he hacked into the Academy's restricted files, old habits from his dropout days. What he found chilled him. Zara's profile was fabricated, her origins listed as a remote colony that didn't exist. Confronting her seemed insane, but the pull was undeniable. The climax of their early encounters came during a live-fire exercise on the station's outer hull. Suited up in EVA gear, the class practiced repairs under simulated enemy fire. Chaos erupted when a drone malfunctioned, turning real lasers on them. Cadets scattered, panic in their voices, but Jake dove into action, shielding a fellow trainee and rerouting the drone systems mid-flight. Zara was there in an instant, her suit gleaming as she joined him. Together, they dismantled the threat, her precision complementing his brute ingenuity. As the danger passed, helmets pressed close, she whispered through the comms, "You saved us all, Jake. You're more than just a pilot, you're a force." Back inside, suits shed, the adrenaline still surged. In the locker room's dim light, she approached him, her eyes burning with unspoken fire. "Come with me," she said, leading him to a secluded observation deck overlooking the stars. There, under the infinite canvas, she revealed a glimpse. Her ears weren't a quirk, they were elven-like, a mark of her royal Zerathian blood. "I'm not who you think," she confessed, her voice trembling with vulnerability. Jake's world tilted, an alien princess, hiding among humans. The shock warred with the attraction he'd felt from day one. But as she explained her flight from a war-torn empire, seeking aid, he saw the hero in her, the same grit he prized in himself. Their hands intertwined, the first tentative bridge between worlds. The Academy's alarms blared one fateful dawn, pulling Jake from restless dreams. Intruders, alien scouts from a rival faction, had breached the perimeter. Zara rallied the cadets, her command presence unbreakable, but Jake knew this was no drill. As ships clashed in the void outside, he launched into the fray, his starfighter weaving through enemy fire with Zara's voice guiding him. In the heat of battle, her disguise slipped further. Her true form shimmered through holographic camouflage, revealing the graceful, seductive alien beneath, yet it only fueled Jake's resolve. He executed maneuvers that defied physics, drawing enemy attention to allow her escape pod to launch if needed. "Not without you," he growled over comms, his human tenacity shining. The fight raged, lasers painting the darkness, explosions blooming like deadly flowers. Jake's ship took hits, shields failing, but he pressed on, outmaneuvering foes with tricks born of Earth's chaotic skies. Zara, in her own vessel, matched him, their synergy a dance of destruction. When the last enemy craft imploded, silence fell and Jake docked, heart pounding. She met him on the hangar deck, pulling him into an embrace that spoke volumes. "You fought like a god," she breathed, her lips inches from his. In that victory, bonds forged in fire. Jake realized this was just the beginning, a human and an alien princess, destined to rewrite the stars. Their connection deepened in the aftermath, stolen glances turning to secret meetings. Zara shared tales of Zerathia, a realm of floating citadels and bioluminescent seas, where love was as fierce as war. Jake, in turn, showed her Earth's resilient spirit through stories of his past. The erotic tension built, subtle at first, a brush of fingers, a shared breath in confined spaces. One simulation pushed boundaries, a survival scenario in a holographic jungle planet, just the two of them. Stranded, they navigated treacherous terrain, her alien senses detecting hidden dangers, his ingenuity building shelters. As night fell in the sim, warmth shared by a virtual fire, inhibitions melted. Her touch explored, curious and bold, awakening desires long dormant in him. The Academy's routine masked their growing intimacy, but whispers spread. Jealous cadets eyed them, unaware of the cosmic stakes. Zara confided her mission to recruit human pilots against her empire's enemies. Jake, torn between loyalty to Earth and his heart, chose her, sealing it with a kiss that tasted of forbidden stars. Tensions escalated when a Zerathian envoy arrived, demanding Zara's return. Disguised as diplomats, they cornered her, but Jake intervened. A brawl erupting in the corridors. Fists flew, lasers drawn, his human brawn clashing with their advanced tech. He disarmed one with an improvised tool, earning Zara's awe. "My hero," she murmured later, tending his wounds, her hands lingering in ways that promised more. As the story unfolded, Jake's transformation was complete from dropout to savior. With Zara by his side, they plotted a daring escape, hijacking a prototype ship to flee toward Zerathia. The pursuit was relentless, enemy fighters on their tail, but Jake's insane piloting, spinning through wormholes, slingshotting around gas giants, left them in the dust. Arriving at Zerathia's borders, the true test awaited, convincing her people that a human could lead their fleet. Zara's betrayal of old alliances for love sparked intrigue, but Jake's demonstration in a grand arena, piloting against elite warriors, won them over. His grit, that unyielding human spirit, turned the tide. In the end, as fleet admiral, Jake stood beside Princess Zara, their union a symbol of alliance. The stars, once divided, now united under a banner of love and valor. Humans, fuck yeah, they didn't just survive the cosmos, they conquered hearts across it. Wow, that was intense. But wait, this is just the hook. There's so much more to unfold in this tale of interstellar passion and heroism. Stick around for the next part, where the suspense builds and secrets start to unravel. Wait, no, scratch that last bit. The story flows on seamlessly from here, diving deeper into the magnetic pull between Jake and Zara, where every glance holds a promise and every drill hides a hidden desire. As the Academy's lights dimmed for the night cycle, Jake found himself wandering the observation decks, the vast expanse of space mirroring the turmoil in his soul. Zara was there, as if drawn by the same invisible thread, her silhouette framed against the swirling nebula outside. They talked for hours, her voice weaving tales of distant worlds where love transcended species, where bonds formed in the heat of battle lasted eternities. Jake shared his own scars, the loss of comrades in Earth's border wars, the loneliness of a pilot adrift. Her hand found his, fingers intertwining with a warmth that defied the cold vacuum beyond. The erotic undercurrent simmered, her proximity igniting sparks. When she leaned in, her lips brushing his ear to whisper a Zerathian proverb about destiny, he felt the world shift. Their first kiss was tentative, exploratory, a collision of human passion and alien grace that left them both breathless. From there, the training intensified, but so did their connection. In the simulators, her commands took on a personal edge, pushing him to limits that felt intimate. "Feel the ship, Jake," she'd say, her voice husky over the comms. "Let it become part of you like I have." Suspense built as signs of her true identity emerged, a glow to her skin under UV lights, a strength that belied her slender frame. Jake pieced it together, confronting her in a private session. "You're not human," he accused, but there was no anger, only curiosity and desire. She revealed all her exile, the war-threatening Zerathia, her disguise to find a champion. "And I found you," she said, pulling him close. The room charged with electricity, their bodies pressing together in a dance of revelation and need. As enemies closed in, the plot thickened, leading to thrills that would test their bond to the core. In the shimmering void of the cosmos, where stars whispered secrets to those daring enough to listen, Jake Harlan's life took an unexpected turn. He'd been a pilot on Earth, the kind who lived for the thrill of slicing through atmosphere like a blade through silk. But a single mistake, a miscalculated re-entry that nearly cost his squadron their lives, had stripped him of his wings. Now, at 28, with a jaw set in determination and eyes that held the fire of unquenched ambition, he boarded the shuttle to the elite star Academy. Orbiting the fiery red dwarf of Proxima Centauri, the Academy was a beacon for the broken and the bold, promising to forge starship commanders from the ashes of failure. Jake clutched his duffel bag, feeling the weight of second chances, unaware that fate had something far more extraordinary in store. The station loomed like a metallic leviathan, its docking bays alive with the hum of engines and the chatter of cadets from every corner of human space. Jake stepped off the shuttle, the artificial gravity pulling him down with a familiar tug, and made his way to the orientation hall. Holographic maps floated in the air, depicting routes through wormholes and battles against hypothetical foes. He felt a spark ignite within him, the old adrenaline stirring as he imagined himself at the helm of a vessel that could outrun light itself. That's when he saw her. Standing at the podium, commanding the room with an effortless authority, was instructor Zara. Her presence hit him like a solar flare, hair as white as fresh snow cascading over shoulders that seemed sculpted from marble. Skin so pale it almost glowed under the lights, and ears with a delicate, pointed elegance that hinted at something mythical. She wore a uniform that blended military precision with an undeniable allure, the fabric clinging to her curves in a way that suggested both power and invitation. Her eyes, a deep violet that swirled like distant galaxies, scanned the room, landing on Jake with an intensity that made his breath catch. "Greetings, aspiring conquerors of the stars," Zara began, her voice a melody that wrapped around the soul, rich with an accent that evoked far-off worlds. "I am Zara, your guide through the perils of spaceflight. This academy isn't for the faint-hearted. It's where you learn to dance with death, to bend the universe to your will. Fail me, and you'll return to your mundane lives. Excel, and you'll claim the cosmos as your own." Jake slid into a seat near the front, unable to tear his gaze away. There was something otherworldly about her, a grace that transcended human norms. As she outlined the program, intense simulations, zero-gravity combat drills, and navigation through black hole simulations, her passion infected the air. She moved like liquid silk, demonstrating a holographic starship maneuver with hands that seemed to command the very pixels. "See how the thrust vectors align," she said, her fingers tracing arcs in the air. "It's not just science, it's art. Feel it in your bones." When she called on him during a Q&A, asking about emergency warp jumps, Jake answered with the confidence of experience. "You have to trust your instincts over the computer sometimes," he said. "Machines can glitch, but a pilot's gut rarely does." Her lips curved into a smile that sent warmth flooding through him. "Bold words, Cadet Harlan. Let's see if you can back them up." The first training session that afternoon thrust them into the simulator pods, sleek capsules that replicated the cockpit of a Nebula-class starfighter. Strapped in, Jake felt the familiar thrill as the virtual reality enveloped him, stars streaking past, the roar of engines in his ears. The scenario was brutal, a chase through an asteroid belt pursued by drone enemies. Alarms blared as he dodged rocks the size of mountains, lasers grazing his shields. Zara's voice came through the comms, steady and demanding. "Evasive maneuvers, Harlan, don't just react, anticipate." He pushed the controls, executing a corkscrew dive that would have been suicide in lesser hands. The pod shook with simulated impacts, but he emerged victorious, his ship intact while others crashed in defeat. Emerging sweaty and triumphant, he caught Zara's approving nod from the observation deck. "Not terrible," she called down, but her eyes held a spark of intrigue. As the days unfolded, the Academy became a crucible. Mornings started with lectures on quantum drives and alien threat assessments, Zara's explanations weaving fact with fascination. She spoke of species beyond human ken, empires that span light years, her words painting pictures of bioluminescent worlds and crystalline cities. Jake hung on every syllable, drawn not just to the knowledge but to her, the way her hair caught the light, the subtle sway in her step that hinted at hidden depths. During a group drill in the anti-gravity chamber, bodies floating like leaves in a breeze, Jake collided gently with her while practicing formation flying. "Steady," she murmured, her hand on his arm to correct his trajectory. The touch lingered, electric, her skin cool yet inviting. In that weightless moment, time stretched, their faces inches apart. He saw flecks of gold in her violet eyes, a secret universe waiting to be explored. Nights brought reflection. In his bunk, staring at the starfield through a porthole, Jake replayed their interactions. Zara was strict, pushing him harder than the others, but there was a softness in her critiques, a personal investment that puzzled him. He overheard cadets gossiping about her, how she never socialized, how her records were sealed. Curiosity gnawed at him, blending with an attraction he couldn't deny. One evening, after a simulation where he'd pulled off a daring slingshot around a virtual gas giant to ambush enemies, Zara summoned him to her office. The room was sparse, dominated by a viewport overlooking the Academy's docking arms. "You're improving," she said, leaning against her desk, her uniform accentuating the elegant lines of her form. "But you're still holding back. Why?" Jake hesitated, then met her gaze. "Maybe because I sense you're doing the same." It was a bold move, but her reaction, a soft laugh that echoed like chimes, encouraged him. They talked late into the cycle, sharing stories. He spoke of Earth's wild oceans and stormy skies, the raw beauty that forged humanity's spirit. She described nebulas that sang and planets where time flowed backward, her voice laced with a longing that tugged at his heart. As the conversation deepened, tension built. She stepped closer, her scent, a blend of jasmine and stardust, enveloping him. "Humans are fascinating," she whispered. "So resilient, so passionate." Her fingers brushed his cheek, a gesture both tender and exploratory. Jake's pulse raced, the air thick with unspoken desires. In that intimate space, barriers began to crumble, hinting at a connection that could span galaxies. The next drill escalated everything. A full-class exercise simulating an alien invasion, with cadets piloting remote drones against holographic foes. Chaos reigned as ships exploded in bursts of light. Jake's drone weaved through the fray, but a glitch turned it real, a malfunctioning laser array firing live rounds. Panic erupted, cadets scrambling for cover. Zara barked orders, her composure unshaken, but Jake saw fear flicker in her eyes. He dove toward the array, overriding its systems with a hack he'd learned in his rogue days. Sparks flew as he disabled it, taking a glancing burn to his arm. In the aftermath, she rushed to him, her hands gentle on his wound. "Foolish human," she chided, but her tone was affectionate. "You could have died." "Wouldn't be the first time I risked it all," he replied, grinning through the pain. Their eyes locked, and in that moment of vulnerability, something shifted. She helped him to the med bay, her touch lingering longer than necessary, whispering thanks that carried promises of more. As recovery set in, Jake pieced together anomalies, her unnatural agility, her knowledge of forbidden sectors. Hacking the Academy's database in secret, he uncovered discrepancies. Zara's file was a fabrication, her origins linked to uncharted space. Confrontation loomed, but so did excitement. Who was she, really? And spy, a refugee, the mystery only heightened his draw to her. Their bond grew in stolen moments, a late-night walk on the outer hull, suits sealed against the vacuum, stars wheeling overhead. "The universe is vast and lonely," Zara said, her voice crackling through the helmet link. "But with the right companion, it's infinite possibility." Jake reached for her gloved hand, feeling the warmth even through layers. It was the start of something profound, a human and what he suspected was an alien, forging a path through the unknown. Tensions mounted when strange signals pinged the station, coded transmissions from deep space. Zara tensed visibly, her facade cracking. During a private training session in a secluded sim room, Jake pressed her. "Tell me the truth," he demanded softly. She hesitated, then let the holographic disguise flicker, revealing her true form, the pointed ears more pronounced, skin shimmering with an inner light, body a vision of ethereal beauty. "I'm Princess Zara of Zerathia," she confessed, her voice trembling. "My empire is at war, and I came here disguised to find allies. Humans like you, brave, ingenious, could turn the tide." Jake's world spun, but instead of fear, he felt awe. Pulling her close, he kissed her, a clash of worlds that ignited like a supernova. From there, the adventure truly began. Enemy scouts from rival alien factions infiltrated the Academy, leading to a skirmish in the engineering bays. Jake fought alongside her, his improvised weapons, welders turned torches clashing with their energy blades. The battle was fierce, corridors echoing with blasts and grunts. He shielded her from a blast, taking the hit, his grit earning her eternal gratitude. As they escaped the chaos, hiding in a maintenance shaft. Breaths ragged, she tended his injuries with alien tech that healed in moments. "You're my savior," she murmured, her lips finding his in the dim light. The kiss deepened, passion flaring amid danger, bodies pressing together in a promise of unity. The Academy alerted authorities, but Zara and Jake knew they couldn't stay. Planning a daring departure, they stole a prototype ship, launching into the black as pursuers gave chase. Jake's piloting Sean, evading missiles with hairpin turns, using gravity wells to slingshot away. Zara's navigation guided them to safety, her hand on his shoulder a constant anchor, arriving at Zerathia's hidden outpost. Jake faced skepticism from her people, elegant beings with similar elven features, viewing humans as primitives. But in a trial by combat, piloting against their best, he proved his worth, his maneuvers outclassing their tech with pure instinct. Crowned as an honorary admiral, Jake stood beside Zara, their love a bridge between species. The Empire rallied, humans and Zerathians united against common foes. In quiet moments, amid floating gardens of bioluminescent flowers, they explored their bond, whispers of forever echoing in the stars. Yet, this was only the dawn of their saga, where love and valor intertwined, proving that in the grand tapestry of the universe, a single human heart could change everything. As the floating gardens of Zerathia's outpost bloomed under the soft glow of twin moons, Jake and Zara stole away from the celebratory feasts honoring his new title. The air hummed with the gentle chime of crystalline petals unfurling, their luminescence casting ethereal shadows that danced across Zara's pale skin. She led him deeper into the labyrinth of vines and hovering blossoms, her hand warm in his, a silent promise amid the whispers of an alien wind. Jake's heart raced, not from the battles he'd won, but from the unspoken currents pulling them closer, a magnetic force that had been building since that first stolen kiss in the Academy's shadows. They found a secluded alcove, a natural cradle formed by intertwining branches that pulsed with faint bioluminescent veins, like the heartbeat of the planet itself. Zara turned to him, her violet eyes shimmering with a depth that spoke of centuries-old longings. "You've given my people hope, Jake," she murmured, her voice a caress that sent shivers down his spine. "But what of us? In the quiet moments, away from the wars and the stars, what do we become?" He pulled her close, feeling the curve of her body mold against his, the fabric of her royal attire thin and silken, hinting at the warmth beneath. Her pointed ears brushed his cheek as she tilted her head, and he traced a finger along their delicate edge, marveling at how something so foreign could feel so intimately right. The suspense of their situation hung heavy. The Empire's enemies still lurked in the outer rims, scouts reporting whispers of an impending strike, but in this hidden sanctuary, time seemed to suspend, allowing desire to take the helm. Jake's lips found hers in a kiss that started slow, exploratory, tasting the sweetness of her alien essence, like nectar from forbidden fruits. Her hands roamed his back, fingers digging in with a gentle urgency that spoke of restrained passion. As they deepened the embrace, the garden responded, vines coiling softly around them as if to shield their intimacy from prying eyes. He felt her breath quicken, her body arching into his touch, and a low moan escaped her lips when his hands slid down her sides, tracing the elegant swell of her hips. But even in this bliss, a thread of suspense wove through their minds. Zara had confided earlier that night about a hidden artifact in Zerathia's core, a relic that could amplify starship capabilities but was guarded by ancient traps that only a true bond between species could unlock. Rumors suggested spies had infiltrated the outpost, drawn by the news of a human admiral. Jake pushed the thoughts aside, focusing on the now, on the way her white hair cascaded like a waterfall over his arms as he lifted her gently onto a bed of soft moss. She gazed up at him, her skin flushing with a subtle glow, an alien response that made her seem even more alluring, like a living star. "Humans are so direct," she whispered, a playful smile tugging at her lips, her voice laced with curiosity and heat. Her fingers worked at the fastenings of his uniform, peeling it away layer by layer, exposing the hard lines of his chest, scarred from past skirmishes. Jake's hands mirrored hers, slipping beneath the shimmering fabric of her gown, feeling the smooth, cool texture of her skin warm under his palms. The contrast thrilled him, her ethereal grace against his earthly solidity, a fusion that ignited sparks wherever they touched. As clothing fell away, the air grew charged, heavy with the scent of blooming flowers and their shared anticipation. Zara's body was a masterpiece of curves and subtle luminescence, her form gowned only in the garden's soft light now, inviting exploration. Jake's mouth trailed kisses down her neck, lingering at the pulse point where her heartbeat fluttered like a trapped bird, drawing a gasp from her that echoed through the alcove. She arched beneath him, her nails grazing his back in patterns that mimicked the constellations above, a silent language of desire. Yet, the erotic haze couldn't fully eclipse the undercurrent of danger. In the distance, a faint alarm hummed through the outpost's comms network, a subtle vibration that reached even this secluded spot. Zara tensed slightly, her eyes flickering toward the canopy, but Jake drew her back with a deep kiss, his hands cupping her face. "Not now," he murmured against her lips. "Let the universe wait." She relented, pulling him down with her, their bodies entwining in a rhythm that built slowly, suspensefully, each movement heightening the tension between surrender and the lurking threats outside. Her legs wrapped around him, drawing him closer, and he felt the unique texture of her skin, silky yet resilient, with faint patterns that glowed faintly under pressure, like hidden tattoos revealed only in passion. The erotic dance unfolded with a natural flow, her responses guiding him, a soft sigh when he kissed the curve of her breast, a shiver when his fingers traced the sensitive lines along her thighs. Zara's hands explored him in turn, marveling at the warmth and strength of human anatomy, her touch both tentative and bold, as if discovering a new galaxy. The suspense intensified as shadows shifted in the garden, perhaps just the wind, or something more sinister. Jake paused, his breath ragged, listening, but Zara's whisper pulled him back. "Stay with me," she urged, her voice husky, eyes locked on his with an intensity that made his resolve melt. They moved together then, a symphony of gasps and murmurs, the erotic pull overwhelming any distractions. Her body responded to his in ways that defied expectation, subtle vibrations from her core that amplified sensations, an alien gift that left him breathless, teetering on the edge of ecstasy. In the midst of their union, memories flashed, the first time their eyes met in the Academy, the battles they'd fought side by side, the revelations that had bound them. It added layers to the moment, making it not just physical but profoundly emotional, a bridge across species built on trust and fire. Zara's moans grew softer, more urgent, her glow brightening as climax approached, illuminating the alcove like a private aurora. Jake held her close, their rhythms syncing perfectly, until waves of pleasure crashed over them, leaving them tangled and spent in the moss. But as they lay there, heart slowing, the alarm's hum grew insistent. Zara sat up slowly, her hair disheveled in a way that only enhanced her beauty, and reached for a hidden comm device woven into a vine. "It's the perimeter sensors," she said, her tone shifting from lover to princess. "Possible intruders." Jake's instincts kicked in, the post-intimacy haze sharpening into focus. He dressed quickly, helping her with her gown, their touches now laced with urgency rather than languor. They slipped out of the garden, moving through the outpost's winding paths with the stealth born of their training. The erotic afterglow lingered in stolen glances and brief brushes of hands, fueling their determination. As they approached the command center, shadows detached from the walls, ambushers, cloaked figures from the rival faction of Orvian, their energy weapons humming to life. The fight erupted in a blur of motion. Jake dodged a blast, grabbing a nearby ceremonial staff and wielding it like an improvised spear, his human agility clashing with their tech-enhanced speed. Zara fought beside him, her movements a deadly ballet, using zerathian martial forms that bent light around her fists. A assailant lunged at her, but Jake intercepted, tackling him to the ground in a grapple that ended with a precise strike to a pressure point. The suspense peaked as more enemies poured in, lasers streaking through the air, forcing them back to back. Zara's voice cut through the chaos. "The artifact chamber, they are after it." They retreated strategically, drawing the intruders deeper into the outpost's defenses. Jake's mind raced, recalling the relic's power. If fallen into wrong hands, it could tip the war. In a narrow corridor, he rigged a quick trap using exposed wiring, electrocuting 2 pursuers in a shower of sparks. Zara's admiration shone in her eyes amid the fray, a spark that reignited the earlier heat. They reached the chamber, a vaulted room pulsating with ancient energy, the artifact, a crystalline orb hovering in a field of light. The lead intruder, a hulking figure with armored exoskeleton, burst in, demanding surrender. Suspense thickened the air as Jake and Zara circled him, their bond evident in synchronized attacks. She feinted left, drawing his fire, while Jake struck from the right, cracking the armor with a found tool. The battle climaxed in a whirlwind of blows and energy discharges, the orb's power humming ominously, threatening to overload. Zara channeled a burst of her royal essence, a glowing aura that weakened the enemy, allowing Jake to deliver the final takedown, a chokehold that rendered him unconscious. As reinforcements arrived, the threat neutralized, they stood panting, the erotic tension from earlier mingling with the adrenaline of survival. In the quiet aftermath, Zara pulled Jake into a hidden nook off the chamber, her lips claiming his in a fierce kiss. "You fight like you love," she breathed, her body pressing against him, reigniting the fire. Their hands wandered briefly, a promise of more to come, but duty called. The suspense of what lay ahead, interrogating the captives, fortifying defenses, loomed, but so did the unbreakable thread between them. As they emerged to brief her counsel, Jake felt the weight of his role anew, but with Zara's hand in his, it felt like destiny. The erotic undercurrent simmered beneath the surface, a constant hum that made every glance charged, every touch a spark. Yet, unknown to them, a greater shadow stirred in the stars, a betrayal from within Zerathia's ranks, one that would test their bond to its limits. The night wore on with strategy sessions, but in stolen moments, their connection deepened. Back in her quarters, overlooking the moons, Zara shed her armor, inviting him to join her in a ritual bath of healing waters. The steam rose around them, her form glistening, and Jake couldn't resist tracing droplets down her back, eliciting soft sighs that built suspense for what might unfold. Their explorations were tender yet intense, her alien sensitivities amplifying every caress, turning simple touches into symphonies of sensation. She guided his hands to places where her glow intensified, sharing secrets of Zerathian pleasure that left him awed. In return, he showed her the raw passion of human intimacy, their bodies moving in harmony that transcended words. Suspense intruded again with a midnight alert, encrypted messages hinting at an alliance fracture. They dressed hurriedly, but not before a lingering embrace that promised continuation. Racing to the war room, they uncovered clues of a mole, heightening the erotic tension with the thrill of danger. Through it all, their love grew, a beacon in the cosmic storm, proving humanity's place among the stars not just through might, but through the heart's unyielding fire. The war room's holographic displays flickered with urgency as Jake and Zara burst through the doors, their bodies still humming from the ritual bath's lingering warmth. Clothes hastily donned but hearts racing in perfect sync. The council, elegant Zerathian elders with flowing white robes and eyes like polished amethysts, turned as one, their faces etched with a mix of reverence for their princess and wary curiosity toward the human at her side. Zara's hand slipped from Jake's only reluctantly, her fingers brushing his in a final, electric promise that sent a thrill through him even now. "Report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the dramatic weight of the moment. Violet eyes scanning the glowing maps where red blips pulsed like wounds in the fabric of space. An elder stepped forward, his voice trembling with the gravity of revelation. "Highness, the intercepted messages, they're from within. Lord Kale of the Inner Spires, your own cousin, has forged a pact with Orvian's warlords. He seeks the artifact for himself, believing a human consort weakens Zerathia's bloodline." The room erupted in gasps, the air thickening with betrayal's bitter sting. Jake felt the dramatic shift like a gut punch. Kale, the suave noble who toasted his victory just hours ago, his pointed ears adorned with jeweled cuffs, his smile hiding serpentine ambition. Zara's face paled, her luminescent skin dimming as if the stars themselves mourned, but she straightened, fire reigniting in her gaze. "Then we strike first," she declared, her words a thunderclap. "Jake, you lead the vanguard. Show them what a human heart can do." The thrill ignited instantly, adrenaline surging through Jake's veins like liquid starfire. Within minutes, they were aboard the sleek Stellaris Asterisk, a prototype cruiser enhanced by the artifact's preliminary attunement, its engines humming with power that made the deck vibrate underfoot. Zara stood beside him on the bridge, her royal gown traded for form-fitting battle armor that hugged her curves like a lover's embrace, white hair tied back to reveal the elegant sweep of her elven ears. "He's always envied me," she confessed in a hushed tone as the ship blasted from the outpost, stars blurring into streaks. "But allying with Orvian, that's treason beyond redemption." Jake squeezed her hand, his rough pilot's grip contrasting her silken skin. "We'll end it together," he vowed, curiosity burning in him about this cousin who'd lurked in shadows all along. The climax built relentlessly as sensors screamed warnings, Kale's fleet emerging from a cloaked nebula, a dozen jagged Orvian destroyers flanking his gleaming Zerathian dreadnought, the Asterisk Shadow Crown Asterisk. "They're blocking the hyperlane," Zara exclaimed, her voice laced with thrilling urgency. Jake's fingers flew across the controls, the ship's response immediate, thrusters roaring as he banked hard into a slingshot around a rogue asteroid. Lasers lanced through the void, painting the viewport in crimson streaks, explosions blooming like deadly roses against the black. Evasive pattern delta, he barked, and the asterisk stellaris asterisk danced, rolling through a corkscrew that evaded a torpedo swarm by inches, the hull shuddering from near misses. On the comms, Kale's voice slithered through, dramatic and venomous. Dear cousin, return the artifact and your pet human. Zerathia needs pure blood, not this abomination. Zara's retort crackled with royal fury. You'll kneel before us both, traitor? But curiosity gnawed at Jake. Why the personal hatred? As the battle raged, he glimpsed answers in fragmented transmissions. Kale's logs revealing a spurned proposal years ago. Zara choosing duty over his advances, now twisted into this cosmic vendetta. The thrilling dogfight escalated. Asterisk stellaris asterisk weaving through enemy formations with Jake's insane maneuvers, barrel rolls that defied gravity wells, hairpin turns around debris that left pursuers colliding in fiery wrecks. Zara manned the weapons, her shots precise as poetry, vaporizing a destroyer with a single artifact-boosted plasma burst. You're magnificent, she breathed over the roar, her eyes meeting his in a glance that sparked deeper thrills amid the chaos. But surprise struck like lightning. A cloaked boarding pod latched onto their hull, breaching the engineering bay. Intruders! Alarms wailed, red lights bathing the bridge in blood-hued drama. Jake grabbed his sidearm, a customized pulse rifle, and sprinted with Zara toward the breach, corridors echoing with their pounding boots. The climax hit full force in the engine room, a whirlwind of combat where Kale's elite guards, hulking Orvian hybrids with tentacled limbs and energy whips, clashed against them. Jake dove into the fray, thrilling shots ringing out as he blasted one assailant mid-lunge, its body crumpling in a shower of sparks. Zara fought like a tempest, her dual blades, glowing with Zerathian crystal, slicing through armor with elegant ferocity, white hair whipping as she spun. Behind you, she cried, surprising him by tackling a guard off his back, their bodies tumbling in a tangle of limbs and grunts. He rolled to his feet, heart thundering, and returned the favor, shielding her from a whip crack that singed his shoulder. Pain flared, but it only fueled him, curiosity peaking as he spotted a data crystal dangling from a fallen guard's neck, Kale's contingency plans. Snatching it mid-dodge, Jake plugged it into a nearby console, holographic secrets unfolding, Kale's true surprise, a virus in the artifact that would detonate Zerathia's core worlds if he failed. He's mad, Jake roared, the revelation hitting like a supernova, dramatic stakes skyrocketing. The fight turned thrillingly personal when Kale himself beamed in, materializing in a swirl of teleport mist, tall, handsome in a cruel way, his white hair streaked black, pointed ears pierced with betrayal's thorns, armor gleaming over a body honed for treachery. You dare touch my throne? He snarled at Zara, lunging with a vibrosword. She parried, blades clashing in sparks that lit the room like fireworks, their duel a ballet of royal rage. Jake circled, firing suppressive shots, but Kale surprised him with a force push, alien tech hurling him into a bulkhead, breath exploding from his lungs. Dazed but defiant, Jake surged up, tackling Kale from behind in a raw human grapple, fists pounding armored ribs while Zara's blade nicked his thigh. For Zerathia, she screamed, the cry echoing with centuries of legacy. Kale twisted free, surprising them both by hurling a grenade not explosive, but a stasis field that froze Zara mid-strike, her violet eyes wide with shock, body suspended in glowing amber. No! Jake bellowed, the dramatic climax peaking as he charged alone, curiosity about her vulnerability fueling desperate fury. The thrilling brawl was visceral, Kale's sword slashing inches from Jake's throat, met by rifle butts and improvised pipe strikes. Blood slicked the deck Jake's from a gash on his arm, Kale's green ichor from a cracked helm. You're nothing without her, Kale taunted, but Jake's response was a headbutt that shattered the traitor's nose, surprising even himself with human resilience. He activated the console virus skill, the dramatic hum of cancellation vibrating through the ship. Enraged, Kale swung wildly, but Jake sidestepped, tripping him into the stasis controls, releasing Zara in a burst of light. She exploded into action, blade plunging true, disarming Kale with a flourish that sent his sword clattering. Together, they pinned him, Jake's boot on his chest, Zara's point at his throat. Why? She demanded, voice breaking with emotional drama, tears glistening on her pale cheeks. Kale laughed bitterly, surprising confession spilling out. Because you chose exile over me, Zara, this human, he has what I never could, your heart. The revelation hung, thrilling and curious, twisting the knife of betrayal deeper. Alarms blared, Kale's fleet closing for a final assault. Jake hauled the traitor to the bridge, forcing him to broadcast surrender, his voice cracking over comms as destroyers powered down, drifting helplessly. The climax crested in cheers from the Zerathian crew, but surprise lingered in Zara's trembling embrace of Jake, her lips crashing against his amid the chaos, salty with tears. You saved us all, she whispered, the thrill of victory mingling with raw emotion. As the Stellaris limped home, towing captured ships, the council awaited with awe. Kale, bound and unrepentant, faced judgment, his surprising final words a curse. The Orvian queen won't forgive this insult. Curiosity sparked anew. What queen? What greater threat? But for now, drama subsided into tender relief, Jake and Zara retreating to the captain's quarters, her head on his chest, fingers tracing his wounds. Our bond unlocked it all, she murmured, the artifact's glow pulsing in sync with their heartbeats. The stars outside seemed brighter, the war's tide turned by human grit and alien love. Yet, in quiet moments, Jake pondered Kale's warning, a thrilling undercurrent hinting at storms yet to come. Zara sensed his thoughts, her touch soothing, reigniting sparks that promised deeper unions ahead. Their story, far from over, wove onward through the cosmos, each breath a testament to the surprising power of crossed destinies. Their story, far from over, wove onward through the cosmos, each breath a testament to the surprising power of crossed destinies. As the Stellaris glided into Zerathia's main orbital dock under the watchful gaze of twin moons, Jake and Zara emerged hand in hand onto the grand receiving platform. The captured shadow crown looming like a defeated beast in tow. The air buzzed with triumphant fanfare, crystalline chimes ringing from hovering spires, petals raining from bioluminescent clouds, but beneath the celebration, drama simmered like a storm on the horizon. Zara's council awaited, their faces a mosaic of relief and scrutiny, while Kale, shackled in glowing energy cuffs, was marched forward by guards, his once haughty sneer now twisted into sullen defeat. Jake felt the weight of 1,000 alien eyes on him, the human outsider who'd toppled a prince, and he squeezed Zara's hand a little tighter, drawing strength from her radiant presence. The formal judgment unfolded in the heart chamber, a vast dome where walls pulsed with the living light of Zerathia's core crystal, casting everyone in hues of violet and gold. Zara ascended the dais, her battle armor traded for a flowing gown of silver threads that clung to her curves like liquid moonlight, accentuating the elegant sweep of her pointed ears and the subtle glow of her pale skin. Lord Kale, she intoned, voice steady but laced with the raw drama of familial betrayal. You've poisoned our bloodline with your ambition. Speak your final plea. Kale lifted his chin, green ichor still staining his lip from Jake's headbutt, and spat. This human taints you, cousin. The Orvian Queen Vexa will exploit your weakness. She's already mobilizing fleets. Laughing at your infatuation? The chamber gasped, drama heightening as holographic projections flared to life, confirming scout reports, Vexa's armada massing at the border, a tidal wave of jagged warships poised to strike. Jake's stomach knotted, the awkward reality crashing in he was the weakness. The Earthling thrust into royal politics like a bull in a crystal shop. Before he could process, Zara turned to him with shining eyes. Jake Harlan, my heart and savior, will you stand as my consort in the binding rite? Prove to all that human fire strengthens Zerathia? Cheers erupted, but Jake froze, the drama spiking into pure awkwardness. A binding rite? He'd faced death in asteroid fields, but this, some cosmic wedding with alien rituals. His face heated, mind racing to memories of Vegas elopements, not glowing ceremonies. Zara, now, he stammered, voice echoing comically loud in the stunned silence. The council murmured, a few elders stifling chuckles at the human's bluntness, while Kale barked a bitter laugh. Even he hesitates. See your folly? Zara's violet eyes widened in surprise, then softened with understanding, pulling him aside amid the heightening tension, her hand warm on his arm. It's tradition, she whispered urgently, drama underscoring every word. A public vow to unlock the artifact's full power against Vexa. But if it's too much... Jake swallowed, awkwardness twisting with love. He couldn't let her face this alone. Hell yes, he blurted, adding humor with a grin. But if I trip on your fancy vines, it's on you. Laughter rippled through the chamber, breaking the ice, even drawing a reluctant smirk from a guard. Zara beamed, kissing him fiercely right there, her lips tasting of victory and spice, bodies pressing close enough to elicit awkward coughs from the elders. The binding rite commenced at dawn in the Crystal Gardens, drama amplified by Vex's looming threat, sensors pinging ever closer enemy signatures. Jake stood shirtless on a pedestal of woven light vines, awkward as hell in nothing but ceremonial pants that shimmered suspiciously, feeling every curve of his scarred human frame exposed to the cheering crowds below. Zara approached in a gown that barely veiled her G-1E3I C-1EA3M form, white hair flowing like a river of stars, her pointed ears adorned with glowing jewels. "Repeat after me," the high priestess intoned, but Jake's tongue tied on the ancient Zerathian phrases, mangling eternal bond of stellar flames into something sounding like eternal bond of stellar. Flames? The crowd roared with good-natured laughter, Zara giggling so hard she nearly dropped her ritual orb, her body shaking against his in a hilariously intimate bump that had Jake whispering, "Easy, or we'll start the rite early." Humor aside, the drama crested as they exchanged the orb's light, beams arcing between them like living lightning, sealing their union with a surge that made Jake's skin tingle and Zara moan softly, too softly, drawing awkward whistles from the rowdier nobles. But surprise twisted the moment. Mid-rite, alarms wailed, Vex's vanguard scouts breaching the outer shields. Chaos erupted, petals scattering as guards scrambled, heightening the drama to fever pitch. Jake, still half-naked and glowing from the bond, grabbed a nearby energy lance, yelling, "Not on our wedding day." Zara, gown half unzipped in the ritual's haste, snatched dual blades, her eyes flashing with fierce love. "Together, my husband." The awkward humor peaked when Jake tripped over a vine mid-charge, face-planting dramatically into a flower bed, emerging covered in glowing pollen that made him sneeze comically. Achoo. Damn alien hay fever. Before vaulting into action, lance blazing. The skirmish turned the gardens into a battlefield, drama unfolding in vivid bursts. Vex's scouts, sleek Orvian warriors with iridescent scales and whip-like tails, dropped from cloaked pods, lasers carving through crystalline trees. Jake fought bare-chested and pollen-dusted, his human brawn hurling one scout into a fountain with a splashy thud, earning Zara's delighted laugh amid slashes. "My pollen warrior," she teased, spinning to decapitate another, her gown ripping strategically to reveal more of her luminous curves, awkwardly distracting Jake mid-swing. "Eyes up, hero," she quipped, humor lightening the blood and sparks. He recovered with a sheepish grin. Can't blame a guy, best view in the galaxy. Before tackling a tail whipper, their grapple rolling into a bioluminescent pond, emerging soaked and laughing through the drama. Heightened tension came when a scout captain, a lithe female with mocking violet eyes mirroring Zara's, cornered them against a pulsing crystal wall. "Princess consort? Pathetic," she sneered, tail lashing. "Vexa sends regards and your heads." Drama boiled as she unleashed a sonic whip, cracking the air, but Jake's awkward pollen coating proved surprisingly useful. It jammed her weapon with glowing residue, sparking a hilarious fizzle. "Take that, sparkler," he whooped, charging with pure human lunge, pinning her as Zara bound the wrists. The captain's surprised glare turned curious, muttering, "A human, bonded, Vexa will rage." They hauled her to the council, the awkward prisoner dripping pond water on Kale's cell floor during interrogation, where the traitor smirked, "See, your union invites doom." As the sun climbed, drama peaked in the war council, Jake still in damp pants, pollen flaking off like dandruff, proposing a bold counterstrike. "We use the artifact's new juice, hit Vexa before she hits us." Awkward silence fell, elders exchanging glances at the casual slang, Zara translating with a humorous eye roll. "He means amplify our fleet's warp drives for an ambush." Chuckles eased the tension, approval granted, but private drama awaited in their chambers, Vex's taunting holo message arriving, a stunning alien queen with white-streaked hair and elven ears, lounging seductively. "Darling Zara, share your toy, or I'll claim him myself." Zara's jealousy flared dramatically, shoving Jake onto the bed. "Mine," she growled playfully, climbing atop him, gown falling away. The awkward humor turned steamy as Jake, pollen still itching, sneezed mid-kiss, achoo. "Sorry, love," sending them into giggles, bodies tumbling in a tangle of limbs and laughter. Her hands roamed his chest, tracing scars with tender drama, while he unlaced her further, revealing the full allure of her G-1E3I C-1EA3M form. Even covered in space dandruff. "You're irresistible," she murmured, violet eyes smoldering. Their embrace built slowly, awkward fumbles turning passionate, his hand slipping comically on wet fabric. Her ear twitched tickling his nose, heightening the drama of their fresh bond amid war's shadow. Whispers of love mingled with plans, her glow syncing with his heartbeat, promising nights of deeper exploration. Yet, as they lay entwined, sensors blared again, Vex's main fleet jumping in early. Drama exploded anew, Jake bolting up, pants askew. Round 2 already? Give a guy a minute. Humor cut the tension as Zara yanked him dressed, stealing one last kiss. Racing to the bridge, they rallied the fleet, the binding's power surging through ships like lightning. Awkward newlyweds turned commanders, Jake's piloting paired with Zara's strategy, setting the stage for cosmic payback. In the height of it all, their laughter echoed, a human spark lightning alien drama, proving love's awkward beauty could conquer even queens of the void. In the height of it all, their laughter echoed, a human spark lightning alien drama, proving love's awkward beauty could conquer even queens of the void. As the fleet assembled in the shadow of Zerathia's grand spires, Jake and Zara retreated to the sanctuary of their private quarters aboard the flagship, the adrenaline of battle preparations still thrumming through their veins like a shared pulse. The room was a haven of soft, glowing crystals that bathed everything in a warm, ethereal light, vines curling along the walls as if alive with the planet's own heartbeat. Zara closed the door behind them with a gentle wave of her hand, the lock sealing with a soft hum, and turned to Jake, her violet eyes sparkling with a mix of triumph and unspoken longing. "We have a moment before the launch," she whispered, her voice husky from the day's commands, stepping closer until the heat of her body radiated against his. Jake felt the pull immediately, that magnetic draw that had grown stronger with every shared glance and brush of skin since their binding. He reached out, his fingers tracing the elegant curve of her jaw, feeling the subtle glow beneath her pale skin that always intensified when emotions ran high. "Then let's make it count," he replied, his tone low and filled with affection, pulling her into an embrace that started tender but quickly deepened with the passion they'd been holding back amid the chaos. Zara's arms wrapped around his neck, her white hair cascading over them like a silken veil, and she pressed her lips to his in a kiss that spoke of all the unspoken promises their union held. The world outside, the looming threat of Vex's armada, the council's urgent briefings, faded into a distant murmur as they surrendered to the intimacy that had become their anchor. Jake's hands slid down her back, following the graceful lines of her form, the fabric of her gown whispering under his touch. She sighed softly against his mouth, a sound that sent a warm shiver through him, encouraging him to explore further. With gentle care, he unlaced the ties at her shoulders, the material pooling at their feet like fallen stars, revealing the luminous beauty of her body, curves that seemed sculpted from moonlight, her pointed ears flushing with a delicate glow that mirrored her rising desire. Zara's fingers worked at his uniform in return, peeling away the layers with a playful urgency, her touch light yet insistent, drawing him closer until there was nothing between them but the shared warmth of skin on skin. They moved to the wide berth draped in soft, iridescent linens, the vines overhead unfurling petals that released a faint, floral scent, enhancing the dreamlike atmosphere. Jake lay back, pulling her atop him, marveling at how perfectly they fit together, his strong, earthly build complementing her ethereal grace. Her hands roamed his chest, tracing the scars from old battles, each one a story that made her admire him more. "You feel like home," she murmured, her breath warm against his ear, leaning down to kiss the hollow of his throat, eliciting a quiet groan from him that made her smile. The connection between them felt profound, a blend of curiosity and familiarity, as if their bodies were discovering rhythms written in the stars. As they entwined, the intimacy built slowly, a dance of gentle caresses and whispered endearments that heightened every sensation. Jake's lips traveled along her collarbone, savoring the way her skin responded with that soft luminescence, like tiny stars awakening under his touch. Zara arched into him, her fingers weaving through his hair, guiding him with subtle movements that spoke of her trust and eagerness. The world narrowed to the feel of her against him, the soft sounds of their shared breaths, the way her glow seemed to sync with his heartbeat, creating a harmony that was both soothing and exhilarating. It was a moment of pure connection, where vulnerabilities were shared and strengths celebrated, their bond deepening with every tender exchange. Time seemed to stretch, allowing them to lose themselves in the warmth and closeness, exploring the ways they could bring each other joy. Zara's eyes met his in the dim light, filled with a depth of emotion that made Jake's heart swell. He saw not just a princess, but his partner, his equal in every way. Her movements became more fluid, inviting him to join her in a rhythm that felt natural and profound, their bodies moving as one in a celebration of their love. Soft murmurs escaped them, words of affection mingled with sighs of contentment, the intimacy wrapping them in a cocoon of shared bliss that blocked out the universe's demands. Yet, even in this private haven, echoes of the outside world intruded subtly, a distant chime from the comm panel signaling incoming updates, but they chose to linger, savoring the afterglow as they held each other close. Jake traced lazy patterns on her back, feeling the subtle vibrations of her contentment, like a purring resonance that hummed through her. Zara nestled against his chest, her white hair splayed across him like a blanket of snow, her pointed ears brushing his skin in a way that tickled slightly, drawing a soft chuckle from him. "You're glowing brighter than the artifact," he teased gently, kissing the top of her head. She lifted her gaze, violet eyes sparkling with mischief and love. "Only because of you?" she replied, her voice a warm caress, pressing a lingering kiss to his lips that reignited a spark of desire. They rose eventually, the pull of duty calling them back, but not before sharing one more embrace that sealed the moment in their memories. Dressing side by side, their touches lingered, her fingers adjusting his collar, his hand brushing a stray lock from her face, small gestures that carried the weight of their intimacy. The glow on Zara's skin faded to a subtle sheen, but the bond between them felt unbreakable, a source of strength for the trials ahead. Stepping out into the corridor, hand in hand, they faced the assembling crew with renewed resolve, the private interlude fueling their determination to protect what they'd built. The flagship's bridge buzzed with activity as they arrived, holograms displaying Vex's advancing forces in stark detail. Jake took his station at the helm, fingers flying over controls honed from years of piloting, while Zara coordinated with her admirals, her presence commanding yet softened by the secret warmth they shared. A subtle glance between them, charged with memory, brought a faint smile to her lips amid the tension. "All systems primed," he reported, his voice steady, but his mind replaying the tenderness of moments ago. The intimacy they'd shared wasn't just a respite, it was fuel, reminding them why they fought, for a future where such moments could flourish without the shadow of war. As the fleet leaped into warp, stars streaking past in brilliant lines, Jake felt Zara's hand on his shoulder, a quiet affirmation. The journey to confront Vexa promised peril, but their connection made it bearable, even exhilarating. Whispers among the crew spoke of the bonded pair's unbreakable spirit, inspiring loyalty that rippled through the ranks. In quiet lulls, Jake's thoughts drifted back to their quarters, the way her body had moved with his, the soft sounds and shared breaths that had woven them closer. It was a reminder that amid cosmic conflicts, personal bonds were the true power. Deeper into the voyage, during a brief downtime in the observation lounge, they stole another moment alone, overlooking the swirling nebula that masked their approach. Zara leaned against him, her head on his shoulder, the intimacy of earlier lingering in the air like a sweet aftertaste. "What we have, it's what will win this," she said softly, her fingers interlacing with his. Jake nodded, pulling her closer, their bodies fitting together as naturally as puzzle pieces. A soft kiss followed, gentle and reaffirming, building on the foundation they'd strengthened. But duty intruded once more, a sensor ping alerting them to enemy patrols. They parted with a lingering touch, ready to face whatever came. The intimacy sustained them, a private flame that burned bright against the cold void. As battles loomed, their love became the core of Zerathia's defense, a testament to how two souls from different worlds could unite in ways that defied the stars. The confrontation with Vex's forces drew near, the fleet emerging from the nebula into a field of asteroids where ambush awaited. Jake's piloting skills shone, weaving the flagship through rocky hazards while Zara directed fire with precision. In the heat of skirmishes, their coordination was seamless, born from the deep understanding forged in private moments. A direct hit rocked the ship, but they steadied each other, hands brushing in reassurance amid commands. Victories mounted, pushing back patrols, but Vex's queen ship loomed on scanners, a massive vessel pulsing with dark energy. Zara's face set in determination, her glow intensifying with resolve. "For us," she whispered to Jake, their eyes meeting in a promise that echoed their intimacy. He squeezed her hand, the touch a spark that ignited courage. As they closed in, the true test began, a boarding action to capture Vexa herself. Jake led a team, Zara at his side, their bond making them unstoppable. Corridors echoed with laser fire, but they pressed on, covering each other with instinctive harmony. Reaching the throne room, Vexa awaited, a striking figure with cascading white hair and pointed ears, her form clad in revealing armor that exuded power and allure. "You dare challenge me with your pet?" Vexa sneered, but Zara stood tall. "He's my equal, my love." The duel that followed was intense, blades clashing, but Jake's intervention turned the tide, disarming Vexa with a clever maneuver. Bound and defeated, she glared, but curiosity flickered in her eyes at their unity. With Vexa captured, peace negotiations began, Zerathia strengthened by their alliance. Back home, Jake and Zara celebrated privately, their intimacy a reward for endurance. In the gardens, under moon's light, they came together again, bodies entwining in gentle exploration, whispers of forever filling the air. Their love, once a spark, now blazed eternal, proving that in the vast cosmos, connection was the greatest force. Their love, once a spark, now blazed eternal, proving that in the vast cosmos, connection was the greatest force. As the grand halls of Zerathia's central citadel echoed with the joyous strains of victory symphonies, crystalline harps weaving melodies that seemed to pulse in harmony with the artifacts in her light, Jake and Zara slipped away from the throngs of revelers, their hands intertwined like threads of fate. The air was thick with the scent of blooming star lilies, their petals unfurling in response to the couple's passing, as if the very planets celebrated their union. Vexa, the once formidable Orvian queen, now a captive turned reluctant negotiator under heavy guard, had been paraded before the council in chains of shimmering energy, her striking features twisted in a mix of defiance and intrigue. Peace talks had begun in earnest, her armada standing down under threat of the artifact's amplified might, and for the first time in cycles, Zerathia breathed easy. Jake felt the weight of his new role as consort and admiral settle like a well-worn cloak, comfortable yet charged with the thrill of what lay ahead. They made their way to the Royal Observatory, a domed chamber perched atop the highest spire, where panoramic views stretched across the bioluminescent seas and floating archipelagos below. The moons hung low, casting a silvery glow that danced across Zara's white hair, making her pointed ears shimmer like delicate jewels. She leaned against the viewport, her gown, a flowing cascade of silver and violet silk that hugged her G-1E3I C-1E3M curves, whispering against the crystal as she turned to him with eyes full of quiet wonder. "We've done it, Jake," she said softly, her voice a melody that wrapped around his heart. Vex's submission, "It's because of us." Our bond powered the artifact beyond what even the ancients dreamed. He stepped closer, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder as they gazed out at the stars. The intimacy from earlier lingered in the air between them, a warm undercurrent that made every touch feel electric, every shared breath a promise renewed. Jake kissed the nape of her neck, feeling her shiver in response, the subtle glow of her skin brightening under his lips. "And it's just the beginning," he murmured, his hands sliding up her sides with gentle affection, tracing the elegant lines that had become so familiar yet endlessly captivating. Zara turned in his embrace, her violet eyes locking onto his, filled with a depth of emotion that made his pulse quicken. They kissed then, slow and deep, the observatory's soft hum fading into the background as the world narrowed to the press of her body against his, the way her fingers threaded through his hair with a tenderness that spoke volumes. It was a moment of pure reconnection, away from the eyes of the court, where they could simply be, human and Zerathian, lovers unbound by the cosmos's vastness. But as their kiss deepened, a low vibration stirred from the pedestal in the chamber center, where the artifact rested, its crystalline orb now pulsing with a richer, more intense light than before. Zara pulled back slightly, her brow furrowing in curiosity. "The relic, it's reacting." Jake followed her gaze, a flicker of unease cutting through the haze of desire. The orb, once a steady glow, now swirled with chaotic colors, violets bleeding into golds, then unexpected crimsons that hadn't been there during the battle. "Maybe it's settling after the binding," he suggested, but even as he spoke, the vibration grew, humming through the floor like the approach of a distant storm. Zara approached cautiously, her hand extended, and Jake stayed close, his protective instincts flaring. The air thickened, charged with an energy that raised the hairs on his arms, and then, without warning, the orb erupted in a beam of light that enveloped them both. Visions assaulted Jake's mind, not fragmented dreams but vivid, immersive scenes that felt like stepping into another life. He saw ancient Zerathia, not the elegant empire of floating citadels he knew, but a primordial cradle of stars where beings of pure light forged the first alliances. At the center was a figure, a warrior king with human-like features, broad-shouldered and resolute, commanding fleets against shadowy voids that hungered for existence. The king turned, and Jake's breath caught. It was him, or a version of him, eyes the same steely blue, jaw set in the same defiant line. "What the hell?" he whispered, but the vision pulled deeper, revealing the king's consort, a radiant Zerathian queen with white hair and pointed ears, her form mirroring Zara's in every graceful detail. They stood together, hands joined over the artifact's prototype, their bond igniting a cataclysm of power that birthed new galaxies. Zara gasped beside him, her own visions syncing with his, her free hand clutching his arm. "Jake, that's you, the eternal guardian, lost to legend. But how?" The beam intensified, and the twist hit like a warp core breach. The visions shifted to Earth, millennia ago, a Zerathian vessel crashing into prehistoric oceans. The king's essence transferred into a human lineage to preserve it from an ancient enemy, the Void Eaters, eldritch horrors that fed on royal bloodlines. Jake wasn't just a random dropout pilot. He was the reincarnated soul of Zerathia's founder. His human grit no accident but a dormant legacy awakened by their love. The artifact had chosen him not by chance, but by blood, his blood, diluted through generations but pure in spirit. Surprise crashed over him, the room spinning as the light faded, leaving him staggering back against the viewport. Zara's eyes widened in shock, her pale skin draining of color before flushing with a whirlwind of emotions: joy, disbelief, awe. "You're the heir, the true king of Zerathia? All this time, I thought I was saving my people by finding an ally, but you were always meant to lead us." She stepped forward, touching his face as if seeing him anew, her fingers trembling. Jake's mind reeled, the powerful twist appending everything: his Earth life, the Academy dropout, the chance meeting with Zara. It was all orchestrated by fate, or perhaps the artifact's subtle guidance. "This can't be real," he muttered, but deep down, fragments clicked, childhood dreams of stars, an inexplicable pull toward space, the way the simulators always felt like home. The humor of it struck him briefly, a wry chuckle escaping amid the drama. "So, I'm not just your consort. I'm the boss? Talk about a promotion." The revelation's surprise rippled outward like a shockwave. Alarms blared suddenly from the comm panel, not from external threats but internal, the council detecting the artifact surge. Doors hissed open as elders rushed in, their faces a mask of stunned reverence. "Highness, the relic speaks, the guardian has returned," one proclaimed, falling to knees before Jake, who stood awkwardly, still processing the cosmic joke of his heritage. Zara, ever the bridge, explained breathlessly, her hand never leaving his. The visions confirm it. Jake Harlan is the reincarnation of King Ilarion, founder of our line, the artifact activated because of our bond, human and Zerathian, completing the cycle. Murmurs turned to cheers, but the twist deepened with urgency. The Void Eaters, long dormant, stirred in the vision's fringes, drawn by the artifact's flare like moths to flame. Vexa, escorted in for questioning, overheard, and her eyes lit with calculating surprise. So the legends were true. No wonder my probes failed. The king's blood repels our shadows. Drama escalated as the council demanded proof, the observatory transforming into an impromptu verification chamber. Jake, heart pounding from the surprise, placed his hand on the orb alongside Zara's, and it responded instantly, holographic lineages unfolding, DNA scans confirming the ancient markers in his veins, twisted through Earth's evolution but unmistakable. Gasps filled the air, nobles who once eyed him as an outsider now bowing deeply. All hail King Ilarion reborn. The powerful twist turned celebration into coronation planning. Jake thrust from consort to sovereign in a blur of protocols and awestruck faces. Zara stood by him, her love shining brighter, but a flicker of concern crossed her features. The Void Eater's awakening meant war on a scale beyond Vex's petty conquests. As the night wore on, Jake retreated with Zara to a private alcove off the observatory, the weight of the revelation pressing down. "I need this to sink in," he admitted, sinking onto a cushioned bench, her head resting on his shoulder. The surprise still buzzed in his veins, a mix of exhilaration and terror. Him, a king, the dropout from Proxima's backwater academy? She traced his hand with her fingers, her touch grounding. "It explains everything, your instincts in battle, the way the stars seem to call to you. You're not just human, Jake, you're the bridge we've waited for." They shared a quiet laugh, the absurdity lightening the moment. But the twist's implications loomed. Earth's governments would need convincing. Alliances forged across human space, And the Void Eaters, a formless menace that devoured light itself, now targeted at Zerathia because of him. Messengers arrived at dawn, bearing holos from Vexa, her willing submission, now laced with opportunistic alliance. If the king lives, Orvian stands with Zerathia against the Void, she transmitted, her image bowing slightly, the surprise of her pivot adding layers to the intrigue. Jake accepted, the twist empowering him to command with newfound authority. Fleets mobilized under his banner, human pilots from the Academy recalled, their eyes widening at news of their former cadet's ascension. Zara's pride swelled, their bond the catalyst for this seismic shift, kisses stolen amid strategy sessions that reignited the fire between them. Yet, the powerful twist carried shadows, the Void Eater's first probe, a tendril of darkness slipping through a rift, testing defenses. Jake led the counter, his piloting infused with ancestral memory, maneuvers flowing like forgotten instincts. Zara fought beside him, their synergy unbreakable, the surprise of his heritage making every victory feel destined. As rifts sealed, cheers echoed across the Empire, but Jake pondered the cost, a life forever changed. From lone pilot to cosmic guardian, in quieter reflections, with Zara curled against him under the stars, the twist settled into acceptance. Whoever I was before, he whispered, I'm yours now and Zerathia's. She smiled, violet eyes gleaming, and were the stars forever. The revelation, once a shock, became their strength, propelling them toward horizons unknown, where love and legacy intertwined against the universe's darkest threats. Their revelation, once a shock, became their strength, propelling them toward horizons unknown, where love and legacy intertwined against the universe's darkest threats. As dawn's first light filtered through the observatory's crystal dome, painting the alcove in hues of rose and gold, Jake stirred from Zara's embrace, his mind still whirling from the cosmic bombshell of his heritage. Her white hair splayed across his chest like a silken galaxy, her pointed ears twitching faintly in sleep. And for a moment, he simply watched her, the weight of kingship feeling almost bearable in her presence. But the comm panel chimed insistently, shattering the peace, a holographic summons from the council, marked urgent with pulsing red borders. King Ilarion, the coronation awaits, Zara murmured, her violet eyes fluttering open with a sleepy smile that quickly turned serious. And Earth's delegates have arrived early. Time to face the music, my love, Jake groaned, rubbing his face. Great. From dropout to king, now I get audited by my own planet. They dressed hurriedly in the royal chambers adjoining the observatory, drama already brewing as attendants fussed over them like overzealous bees. Zara slipped into a gown of cascading starsilk that hugged her G-1E3I-C-1E3M curves with regal elegance, her pale skin glowing brighter now that the artifact's power coursed through their bond. Jake, however, faced awkward torment, Zerathian tailors insisting on a ceremonial robe layered with 15 glowing sashes, each symbolizing an ancient conquest. This thing weighs more than my old fighter jet, he protested, arms flailing as a sash tangled around his neck like a festive noose. Zara stifled a laugh, stepping in to help untangle him, her fingers brushing his chest in a way that sparked heat despite the chaos. You look majestic, she teased, violet eyes twinkling, but the tailor huffed dramatically. Humans have no sense of pomp. Jake shot back with humor, and your robes make me look like a walking Christmas tree, lit up and ready to topple. Laughter bubbled up, easing the tension, even drawing chuckles from the stern attendants. The procession to the heart chamber heightened the drama tenfold, a winding parade through floating walkways lined with cheering Zerathians, crystalline chimes tolling like thunder. Jake and Zara led on a levitating platform, her hand in his a lifeline amid the spectacle, but awkwardness struck when the platform hit a minor glitch, wobbling like a drunk hovercar. Whoa, easy there, magic carpet. Jake yelped, grabbing the rail and accidentally yanking Zara into his lap mid-dip. The crowd gasped, then roared with delighted laughter as she landed with a surprised squeak, her gown riding up just enough to flash a glimpse of luminous thigh. Smooth moves, your majesty, she whispered, playfully nipping his ear, her breath hot against his skin. He grinned sheepishly, helping her up with exaggerated chivalry. What can I say? Even thrones get stage fright. The humor rippled through the onlookers, turning potential embarrassment into endearing legend, but drama simmered beneath, scouts reporting Void Eater tendrils probing the outer shields, thin as smoke but hungry for light. Inside the chamber, packed with nobles and Earth's delegation, a stiff-suited ambassador from the United Colonies. Flanked by wide-eyed Academy cadets Jake once trained, The coronation unfolded like a cosmic opera. Zara placed the crown of Alarion on his head, a circlet of living crystal that hummed against his brow, syncing instantly with his pulse. "By the stars, I name you king," she intoned, voice thick with emotion, tears glistening on her pale cheeks. Jake's reply caught in his throat, drama peaking as ancestral memories flooded him, visions of ancient battles, lovers lost to voids making his voice crack. I swear to protect this, us, all of it." Cheers erupted, but awkwardness crashed the party when the Earth ambassador cleared his throat loudly. "Mr. Harlan, your majesty, this is highly irregular. Earth's claiming diplomatic rights. You can't just marry into aliens without paperwork." Jake blinked, crown slipping comically over one eye. "Paperwork? Buddy, I filed for divorce once, took 6 months. You think I want to do bureaucracy in space?" Zara snorted, covering her mouth, while Cadet snickered, the humor diffusing the tension like a well-timed vent. But the real drama exploded as Vexa was brought forward for formal alliance swearing. Her chains removed under guard, her striking form clad in subdued silks that did little to hide her allure, white-streaked hair framing pointed ears, curves rivaling Zara's in a blatant power play. "I pledge Orvian to the reborn king," she purred, kneeling with exaggerated grace, her gaze lingering on Jake a beat too long, violet eyes smoldering. Zara's hand tightened in his, jealousy flaring dramatically as Vexa accidentally brushed his leg rising. "Careful, queen," Zara hissed, glow intensifying. "He's taken." Vexa smirked. "Just sealing the pact, darling." Jake, caught in the middle, flushed beet red, awkward as a cadet on his first sim date. "Ladies, truce, before I need a translator for catfights." The chamber tittered, humor lightening the charged air, but Vexa's whisper to Jake as she passed, "Visit Orvian sometime, we reward loyalty," intimately sent drama skyrocketing. Zara's glare could have melted steel. Awkward situations piled on during the feast that followed, a lavish spread of glowing fruits and nebula wines in the grand hall. Jake, crown still askew, attempted a toast. "Two, not getting eaten by voids." Nobles stared blankly until Zara translated with a giggle. "He means eternal prosperity." Laughter boomed, but drama heightened when Earth's ambassador cornered him by the dessert vines. "Sign this non-aggression treaty, or we embargo your whatever this is." Jake, wine glass sloshing from a tipsy wobble, scribbled dramatically on a holopad, only for it to glitch and project his old Academy dropout record across the hall, mugshot and all. Labeled pilot fail, reckless re-entry. Gasps turned to guffaws, Jake burying his face in hands. "Kill me now, voids looking cozy." Zara swooped in, kissing his cheek. "My favorite fail turned king." The humor won over the crowd, even the ambassador chuckling, but void alerts blared mid-laugh, tendrils breaching the atmosphere, drama crashing the party like uninvited guests. Chaos erupted, heightening everything to fever pitch, nobles scrambling, Vexa grabbing a blade with surprising loyalty, Earth's cadets drawing sidearms in awkward solidarity. "We got your back, sire," one yelled, tripping over a vine and face-planting into fruit punch, emerging purple and yelling, "For Earth." Jake barked a laugh amid the frenzy, grabbing Zara's hand. "Round 3 with the space squid. Let's dance." They raced to the battlements, awkward and half-eaten finery, Jake's sashes flapping like flags, Zara's gown snagging on crystals. "Hold still, love your shedding royalty," she teased, freeing him with a rip that bared his shoulder, drawing Vex's appreciative whistle. "Not helping," he groaned, humor masking fear as void tendrils, writhing shadows with glowing maws slithered over the spires, devouring light orbs in eerie slurps. The defense turned dramatic comedy, Jake directed from a floating command orb, but it spun wildly, flinging him into Zara's arms mid-order. "Left flank, whoa!" They tumbled laughing onto cushions, barking commands tangled in limbs. Vexa joined the fray, her energy whip cracking tendrils with flair, but one snagged her gown, yanking it half off in a wardrobe malfunction that had Jake averting eyes awkwardly. "Eyes front, your majesty," she quipped, retying with one hand while slashing. Zara hurled crystal spears, glow blazing, but a tendril grazed Jake's arm, burning like ice, drama peaking as pain shot through him, ancestral memories screaming warnings. "The king's blood repels them, use it," Zara cried, pressing her lips to the wound in a glowing kiss that healed and amplified, tendrils recoiling in agony. Humor cut through as cadets fired wildly, one shot ricocheting to zap a dessert drone, raining glowing tarts on fighters. Sweet victory. Jake whooped, dodging glop while piloting a defense turret, his maneuvers syncing with Zara's, her grace. his grit sealing rifts in bursts of light. Vexa sealed the last, panting. Not bad for a coronation crash. Cheers rose, but drama lingered in Jake's wound scar, a permanent mark pulsing with power. Alone later in the wrecked hall, Zara traced it tenderly, awkward fruit stains on their clothes forgotten. "My messy king," she murmured, pulling him into a kiss that mixed laughter and heat. As cleanup began, Earth's ambassador approached sheepishly, treaty signed. "You're one of us, after all." Jake grinned. "Messy, awkward us." The night ended in exhausted revelry, drama mellowing to warmth, humor proving their glue. Yet void whispers echoed faintly, hinting greater storms, but with Zara's head on his shoulder. Jake faced it unafraid. They're awkward. Hilarious rain just beginning. They're awkward. Hilarious rain just beginning. As the last echoes of laughter faded from the fruit-stained grand hall, Jake and Zara slipped away hand in hand through a side archway, leaving behind the cleanup crews and the Earth's ambassador nursing a glass of nebula wine with a bemused smile. The twin moons had climbed higher, bathing Zerathia's floating walkways in a serene silver glow that softened the edges of the night's chaos, turning scattered crystal shards into twinkling stars underfoot. Jake's ceremonial sashes still dangled comically from one shoulder, and Zara's gown bore a jaunty tear from the battle. But neither cared, their steps light, their bond wrapped around them like an invisible shield against whatever shadows might linger. "Think they'll ever stop staring?" Jake asked, glancing back at a cluster of nobles who waved shyly, their reverence now mixed with fond amusement at their new king's human quirks. Zara leaned into him, her white hair brushing his cheek, her pointed ears catching the moonlight like delicate wings. "Let them stare, my love. They've got a legend to tell their grandchildren, a king who fights voids with fruit tarts and charm." They wandered upward along a spiraling path lined with star lilies, their petals unfurling in gentle welcome, releasing a fragrance that mingled sweet memories of their first intimate night in the gardens. The drama of betrayals, the awkward fumbles of coronations, the thrilling clashes with cosmic horrors, all felt distant now, like chapters in a grand tapestry they'd woven together. Jake paused at an overlook, pulling Zara close, his arms encircling her waist as they gazed out over the bioluminescent seas, where archipelagos drifted lazily like luminous dream catchers. The Void Eater's tendrils had retreated for good, repelled not just by the artifact's power, but by the unbreakable light of their united bloodline, his ancient heritage flowing through human veins, amplified by her royal essence. "We did it," he whispered, his voice thick with quiet awe, pressing a kiss to her temple. "From a busted shuttle to this, you and me against the stars." She turned in his embrace, violet eyes shimmering with tears of joy, her pale skin glowing softly as her hands cupped his face. "We were always meant to, Ilarian reborn, human grit and Zerathian grace together were unstoppable." In the days that followed, their reign blossomed into an era of golden harmony, the kind of ending that felt earned, not rushed, a slow unfolding of peace where every thread tied neatly into place. Vex's alliance proved genuine, her Orvian fleets merging seamlessly with Zerathia's, their jagged warships painted with glowing emblems of unity, patrolling borders that now stretched across 3 quadrants. She visited often, her once predatory smirk softened into respectful banter, even sharing awkward tea ceremonies where she'd tease Jake about his primitive Earth coffee habits. "One day, King, I'll convert you to nectar wine," she'd say with a wink, while Zara rolled her eyes good-naturedly, her hand finding Jake's under the table, a silent reminder of who truly held his heart. The humor of those gatherings became legend, nobles recounting how the fearsome queen once choked on a tart during a void alert, only to be saved by a cadet's slap on the back. Earth's integration flowed with surprising ease, the united colonies embracing their lost son with a mix of pride and opportunistic trade deals. Jake's old Academy cadets, now promoted to elite squadrons under his banner, shuttled back and forth, ferrying diplomats and tech exchanges. One evening, during a joint summit in Proxima's orbital halls, the very academy where it all began, Jake stood on the simulator deck, Zara at his side, demonstrating a warp maneuver to wide-eyed rookies. "See that barrel roll?" He grinned, executing it flawlessly, ancestral instincts making the ship sing. "That's what happens when you mix human stubbornness with a little royal magic." The cadets cheered, one shyly asking Zara, did he really trip into a flower bed at his coronation? She laughed, pulling him close. "Oh yes, and I'd marry him all over again." Awkward blushes spread, but the warmth in the room sealed alliances stronger than any treaty. Humanity's reach expanding under a banner that read United Stars, humans fuck yeah. The artifact, once a mysterious relic, became the heart of a new academy on Zerathia, a sprawling campus where human pilots trained alongside Zerathian nobles, their bonds fostering innovations that lit up the galaxy. Jake and Zara oversaw its opening personally, cutting a ribbon of living light with hands joined, the orb pulsing in approval. Children played in the surrounding gardens, hybrid offspring of mixed crews, their tiny pointed ears twitching with curiosity, tiny glows flickering when they laughed. One little girl, with Jake's blue eyes and Zara's white curls, toddled up during the ceremony, tugging his robe. "Daddy, fly me to the moons." He scooped her up, heart swelling, as Zara joined them, her family complete in that perfect moment. "One day, starling," he promised, kissing her forehead, then Zara's lips. "We'll all go together." Years wove by like comet trails, their love deepening with every shared sunrise. They traveled the realms they'd united, exploring Orvian's crystalline canyons, where Vexa hosted feasts that ended in tipsy dance-offs, visiting Earth's wild oceans, where Jake taught Zara to surf, her graceful form tumbling hilariously into waves as he roared with laughter, charting new worlds with their growing fleet, planting flags of peace on untouched planets. Intimate nights remained their sanctuary, stolen in royal quarters or under alien skies, where bodies entwined with the same tender passion that had ignited in the Academy's shadows. Zara's glow would sync with his heartbeat, her whispers of my eternal guardian blending with his murmurs of my star queen. Their connection, a flame that time, only burnished brighter. Awkward moments persisted. Jake once sneezed mid-diplomatic speech, blaming space pollen to roaring applause. Zara tripped in heels during a parade, landing in his arms with a giggle that stole the show, but each only strengthened the legend of the couple who ruled with laughter and love. In their twilight cycles, as silver threaded Jake's hair and wisdom deepened Zara's violet gaze, they retreated often to that first observatory, watching sunsets paint the seas in fire. Grandchildren gathered at their feet, wide-eyed for stories of voids defeated and queens humbled. And then, Jake would begin, voice rich with humor. "Your grandma saved me from a flower bed disaster." Zara would interject, "Lies, he saved me from a boring throne." Laughter filled the dome, the artifact humming softly nearby, its light eternal. Vexa, now a dear aunt figure, would visit with her own heirs, the once rivals sharing wine and tales, their awkward history a cherished joke. One final eve, as twin moons aligned in rare perfection, Jake and Zara stood alone at the overlook, hands clasped over the crystal crown they'd shared. "We've built more than empires," he said softly, his eyes tracing her timeless beauty. "We've built forever." She smiled, tears sparkling like stars, "and every star in the sky bears our light." They kissed then, slow and profound, the universe holding its breath. In that moment, the Void Eaters were but forgotten whispers, war's mere history lessons, awkward coronation blunders footnotes in epic tomes. Their story ended not with a bang, but with quiet eternity, a human king and his alien princess, proving that love, in all its gritty, glowing glory, was the greatest force in the cosmos. Generations later, bards across the United Realms sang of them. From Dropout's fall to galactic throne, Jake and Zara made the stars their own. With humor's spark and passion's fire, they wove the heavens' grand desire. And in quiet corners of academies, young pilots whispered, "Inspired, humans fuck yeah, they conquered with heart." The end? No, just the beginning of infinity, where their legend shone undimmed, a beacon for all who dared to love across the stars.